You are standing in the absolute center of a crowded room, surrounded by the intoxicating glow of absolute human attention. You just delivered a perfectly timed joke or an incredibly captivating story, and the immediate wave of validation crashes over you. Your blood rushes, your mind is firing on all cylinders, and in this highly elevated moment, you feel undeniably invincible. Then the dinner party ends. You drive back to your apartment, walk inside, and the heavy wooden door clicks shut behind you. It instantly cuts off the laughter. You are completely alone. And the exact second there is no one left in the room to entertain, the vibrant reality of your existence violently evaporates. The charismatic persona you just spent hours projecting shatters into invisible dust. You stare blankly at the wall, with a deep, agonizing, hollow sensation in your chest. You look at your own hands and feel completely disconnected from your body. Without an audience to witness you, you have absolutely no idea who you actually are. This is the devastating paradox of the performance identity. Controlling the energy of an entire room full of people directly results in your complete erasure the moment they leave. When you look in the mirror in these quiet moments, you start to feel a growing sense of internal friction. You realize that the person the world just saw isn't the person standing in the bathroom, leading to a stinging suspicion that you've become a stranger to yourself, a polished shell covering an empty center. To understand why the quiet version of you feels so inadequate, we have to look at where you learned that being normal was a liability. If you grew up in an environment where you were only noticed when you were achieving or entertaining, you quickly learned that your natural, unremarkable self was essentially invisible to the people who mattered. This logic flowchart shows the calculation your brain began to make. Being a quiet child led to a dead end of being ignored. But the moment you achieved or entertained, you were suddenly seen and praised. Your nervous system realized that the unpolished you didn't buy emotional warmth. So to ensure you weren't abandoned, you took that vulnerable, authentic core and locked it away in a hidden vault deep inside your mind. In its place, you constructed a highly adaptable psychological chameleon. You learned exactly what every person needed you to be and flawlessly morphed into that character to secure your basic right to be noticed. You didn't lose your identity by accident. You executed a desperate, permanent calculation to trade authenticity for the validation you needed to feel real. For a very long time, this magnificent performance worked. It kept you safe and made you popular. But now, as an adult, this exact same survival mechanism is actively starving your soul to death. You pay for this applause with your absolute inability to experience true intimacy. Because you deeply believe your resting self is repulsive, you treat dating and romantic relationships like a high-pressure audition. As the quiet moments of domestic life emerge, your nervous system goes into absolute panic mode. You feel a suffocating pressure to constantly entertain your partner. You deeply believe that the exact moment the heavy curtain finally drops and they see the real, quiet version of you, they will be overwhelmingly disappointed and immediately leave. So you never stop performing. And because you never let the mask drop, you experience agonizing cognitive dissonance. The validation you receive never actually sinks into your bones because you secretly know they are only clapping for a phantom. You are desperately trying to fill a bottomless bucket with the fleeting approval of strangers, listening to a looped recording of applause to feel real. You have entirely outsourced your sense of self-worth to the external world, turning every single person you meet into a mirror, trapped in a terrifying, exhausting feedback loop. Every time you receive a round of applause for your performance, it reinforces the terrifying idea that only the mask is lovable. This creates a cycle where the very validation you crave becomes the barrier to your recovery because it convinces you that you can never, ever let the act stop. Breaking this cycle requires a radical, painful decision. You have to intentionally step off the stage. You must stop using your personality as a frantic negotiation for your right to exist. The next time you are at a social gathering and you feel that familiar, adrenaline-fueled urge to hijack the conversation just to make sure people are still looking at you, I want you to physically bite your tongue. Sit back in your chair, take a deep breath, and do absolutely nothing. Let someone else take the spotlight. It will feel completely excruciating. Your heart will race, and your inner critic will violently scream that you are being boring and forgettable. But you must sit inside that discomfort. By forcing yourself to exist in these unpolished moments, you are methodically starving the performance identity of the external oxygen it needs to survive. This is the only way to prove to your traumatized nervous system that you do not actually cease to exist just because no one is actively clapping for you. You have to deeply understand that your fundamental worth as a human being is entirely intrinsic. It is a birthright, not a wage you have to earn through a daily psychological performance. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to be boring. You are allowed to be completely average and entirely quiet. True human connection is not built under the blinding, harsh lights of a theatrical production. It is built in the quiet, unremarkable, deeply vulnerable shadows, where two people feel safe enough to just exist together, without trying to impress each other. The childhood trauma that convinced you your true self was unlovable is a liar. The audience that constantly demands you to entertain them does not actually know you, and their applause will never be loud enough to drown out the silence of your own self-abandonment. It is time to step out of the spotlight and take off the heavy, exhausting costume you have worn your entire life. If this realization just shattered the illusion of your performance, hit the subscribe button. Join this community of deep thinkers, and leave a comment below about the last time you completely exhausted yourself putting on a show. It is time to let the curtain fall.